Yo, and welcome back to Dan Escapes. I hope you're all doing very well, but in today's episode, we're going to be putting a new chain on my checkpoint because the old one has stretched too far now that it needs replacing, and that's something you should be doing regularly, is checking the stretch of your chain. If it stretches over 0.75 and you've been riding on it, usually you'd have to get a new cassette as well. Luckily I caught it beforehand and I can just change the chain. I like to wax my chain, and I have my own method. I've tried various ones and I found this one works the best for me. Everyone else has their own different methods, but I'm going to talk through mine today. But before we wax this chain, you have to get rid of the factory grease that comes on this chain. So even if you're not using wax and just using normal chain lube, there is an argument to say that you should get rid of the factory grease beforehand because it is fully covered. So it means that any dirt and grime can get stuck to the chain, and you want to eliminate that as much as possible if you want to prolong the life of your chain and have it run efficiently. I'm going to take you through the process of me how I strip the chain, and I've got this new product to try. It's from Silca. It's called the Ultimate Chain Stripper Plus Wax Prep. What's great about this is it's a eco-friendly product, and if any of you prepped your chain before using stuff from the DIY store, you're going to be using things like white spirit and methylated spirit, sorry. You can't throw these down the sink. They're not very friendly at all. You have to take them to the dump to be recycled properly. And as you can tell, I've got like bottles where I've poured all the used white spirit from previous chains I've stripped in the past, and this needs to be taken to the dump. But hopefully I won't need to be doing that anymore because I'll be using this stuff. And it says 170 mils of this can strip up to 5 chains, which is pretty good because it means you're not having to use as much. Whereas with the white spirit, for me, it was a one-time use only. So I'm going to take you through the process of stripping it and then how I'm going to wax it at the end. So this is how the process is going to go. I've got this pot which I used for the methylated spirit, so I'm going to use this one now with the chain stripper. So first thing, the pot, I'm going to chuck my chain in there. I've got the quick links there. There you go. I'm going to drop the quick links in there as well, so you can see. So on the instructions it says soak chain in sealed container covered in stripper for 5 minutes. Then agitate for 1 minute, rinse well with clean water, proceed to wax. Boom. And then okay, that's full submersion now. All right, now I'm going to close it off and let it sit there for 5 minutes. So now I've left it for 5 minutes. I'm just going to agitate for a minute now. So agitate like this, just keep shaking for a minute. All right, so I've also brought over a Tupperware of fresh water. So I'm going to take this out. See, I'm wearing gloves, so I don't have to stick my fingers in there, but it's hard to get out. Let's see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rinse this out. Good thing because it's eco-friendly, I can chuck it down the sink and then just keep rinsing it out with water. So you can see the water's become really murky. So keep that closed and I'll save that for my next chain that I need to do. It looks quite murky already, look how dirty that is. Rinse it down in the sink with this Tupperware, and then I'm just gonna dry it. I'm gonna pat dry it with this, so get these quick links dry. All right, so I've laid it all out flat, and then I'm just gonna try and dry the top layer just so there's no like water residue. It still feels like there's some sort of residue on there from the chain stripper. Don't know what that is, but you know, this is my first time using it. And ideally I should have just gone for a straight factory chain instead of washing this in the parts washer first. But yeah, we're gonna make do with what we got. Flip it over. So I'm gonna have to let this dry, make sure all the water is evaporated from this before I put any wax on there. If you had a submersion waxing, you don't have to worry about that because obviously it will boil off any water residue on there. But because I'm not going to be doing that, I have to let it dry fully. Sorry if you can hear a fan noise in the background, but it's super hot in this room and I'm sweating profusely. So I'm trying to keep as cool as possible. but you know, if you zoom in, you might just see the beads of sweat just coming down my face. So while I'm waiting for that chain to dry, I thought I'd talk you through the different wax options that I have tried, tested, and which one I prefer out of all of these ones. So I haven't tried submersion waxing yet. I've only used the drip wax, which to be honest works out pretty okay for me. I'd like to try the submersion waxing, and I'm looking at the Silca one, but at the moment it's currently completely out of stock. So I don't know when that's coming in and when it's going to be available, because that looks like the easiest to use. So it'd be great to try that out. So the first one I'm going to go into is the UFO drip wax from Ceramic Speed, and like you say, just drip it on. I used to take my chain off of the bike and apply the wax to it, but I've now come up with a, well, I didn't come up with it. I watched a video from Silca. As you can tell, I'm a bit of a fanboy from Silca, but I'll talk about their drip wax in a bit. So what I found with this one is it takes a long time to dry. You've got to leave it for 24 hours. When you come back to it, it's super crumbly. It leaves a lot of like flakes of dandruff that it looks like, which is basically wax. And because on my floor, it tends to just rub in. So now I've got like this sheen of wax underneath it. And also when I rode it in the wet, it just completely came off really quickly. So this is only good for dry conditions. So during the summer, I wouldn't recommend this at all during the winter conditions, although it says all conditions on there. The second one that I've tried is the Super Secret coating drip wax from Silca. I did enjoy this. I thought it was better than the UFO drip wax, but again, it didn't last that long. It says it's supposed to be waterproof, but I found that it would come off. Maybe I need to give it another try. From my experience, it comes off again super easy in the wet. So yeah, not great from Super Secret chain wax. And then we're going to get onto the one that's been my favorite, and it's the Bananaslip Tungsten all-weather lube. I've really liked it. It's from a company called Tru-Tension. They mainly deal with motorbike products, but they've also branched out into cycling as well. And for me, it's been the best because it only takes 5 minutes for it to set. It is a little bit gloopy and thicker than the other two, so it means it does track dirt. So I have noticed that, you know, when I've been riding a few bits, that the chain is like a little bit black, but it lasts super long. I've done rides in the wet in this, and it lasted the whole journey. I think when I did Ride London with my buddy Lance, I had this on. It was wet in the morning and then dry in the later on in the day. But by the end of the 100 miles, Lance had a super dry chain. He was using immersion waxing, and I had this on, and it was still smooth, still on there, still lubricated. And that's why this has been my favorite, because it lasts the longest, doesn't need 24 hours to set, and it is all weather. You know, a chain is fully stripped from its factory grease when it makes this rattling noise. I don't know if you can hear that. It means the rollers are all free of the grease. Ideally, what you want to do is have inside here. That's where the lube needs to be. Even if you're doing it with normal chain lube, it just needs to be in the rollers. It doesn't need to be on the outside, because what will happen is dirt will stick to it, get all in your cassette, and then it will start going inside the chain, and that's not what your chain likes if it wants to last a long time. So, you know, everyone talks about lubing a chain, but you also have to make sure it's kept clean as well. So, you know, sometimes what people will do, especially if they're immersion waxing, is they'll have a couple of chains on rotation. So it means that they can clean the old one, take it off, put a new fully waxed chain on, and then just re-clean this one, then immersion wax it again. So, you know, equally you could do the same with the drip wax as well if you wanted to, and then just keep it in a bag so that you know when you need to clean the bike. You'll do that. Also, before you put a new chain on, it's worth cleaning everything. So I have taken this all apart. Still a bit grimy, but I scrubbed it all down, scrubbed the cassette down as well. So that helps with keeping everything clean and your drivetrain very nice and happy. So now our chain's on. What Silca was saying, so I watched a video on how they lubricate their chains. To get it into the rollers, you need to put the chain at an angle and kind of bend it open a little bit. So they were saying put it in the second gear. So because it's on a slight angle, it means it's going to make a little gap where the lube can go inside the roller. I know I'm not really explaining it well, but I'll try and show you how it's done. But ideally you want to put one drop on each one, and then it will go on this bit of the cassette here, and then hopefully push it up into there as well. So, you know, it's supposed to be doing something that's getting it deeper inside the roller rather than just sitting on top there. So I'm just gonna put it up into, there you go, into the second gear. So this does get quite messy, especially with the drip wax. It tends to go everywhere. So I'm gonna go get some tissues just to put on the floor and catch any residue that's left there, because I don't want any stains on the floor. So what I'm going to be doing is placing the lube on the roller just before it hits the cassette. So it means it kind of spreads it open a little bit once it goes on there, and kind of almost creating a pump action to kind of immerse it into the roller. So it just needs to be there. Like I said, nowhere here or anything, just inside. So one thing I would say is bad with this all-weather one is it gets very clogged up on the inside, so you have to really get a pin out and just start scraping all the solidified wax. You can put it on something like a heater just to kind of melt it down again if you wanted to, but I haven't got the patience to do that right now. So see, just pop one on. So I'm going to do what I'm doing now for each roller and just do one application, and hopefully that'll be enough. And because there'll be some, oh, see, sometimes it comes out too fast and drips everywhere. That's the other annoying thing about drip wax, is it does just tend to come out at its own desire. So sometimes it'll come out super slow, sometimes it'll come out super fast. So you never know what you're going to get. You can't do something consistent. Good thing with that is because it goes onto the cassette, means that some of that residue that's on the cassette will move back inside the roller. Okay, so now I've done a full 360, popped it in, cleaned up the tires because some of it dripped on the tires here. And yeah, just cleaned up all the mess, you know, obviously because it was on the cassette. So I tried to wipe off any residue on there as well, and on the front chainring. And now I'm just going to let it rest. Ideally for this one, it says 5 minutes. I'm going to leave it go overnight. If you're using something like the Silca or the drip wax, you have to leave it for 24 hours. But yeah, that's it for today's episode. Let me know what you think of this ultimate chain stripper. Have you ever used it? Are you going to consider using it after this one? I'm going to put a link in the description below of where you can buy it from. But I think it is definitely worth it if you're going down the wax chain route. Even if you are not going down the wax chain route, I strongly recommend this, just because getting rid of that factory grease and putting on a decent chain lube. There are a lot of brands out there who've marketed themselves as really good chain lube, but unfortunately, when the stats come, they show that it actually wears your chain a lot faster. So use something that is backed by science, and I know Silca do a lot of research when it goes into their products, so it's worth trusting them. It's a shame, I might have to try their drip wax again, because I want to see if that works for me and if it lasts a bit longer. I think when I did take it out for a ride, I didn't let it set for 24 hours, so that could have been my mistake. Until I try that again, I won't be able to say it's a good one until I've got a positive experience with it. But I will try submergent waxing. Let me know if you do that yourself. It'd be interesting to know. But yeah, that's it for today's episode. If you enjoyed it, please do give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, as it helps a lot and I appreciate it so much. Hope you're staying safe, staying positive, having fun, and I shall see you in the next one. 3, 2, 1. Yo, and welcome back to Danscapes. Today, oh man, wait, where is it?